Espargaro, a race winner, and Bastianini justifying the hype that had been put in that new RSGP in pre-season, the new agile RP. Although Maverick Vinales found it going a little bit tough, LH Espargaro certainly proving that they've made a giant step forward with that Aprilia this year.
So just under 10 minutes away then from the start, the Indonesian Grand Prix already shortened to 20 laps there. You can see on your screens that's the new schedule. 3:10 local time the race will start. There's Miguel Oliveira on the factory KTM. You can just hear there these huge claps of thunder off into the distance. Reigning world champion Fabio Quartararo just trying to get some instructions. The race has been declared wet.
You reckon?
Well, that is no great surprise, is it? As the International Race Teams Associations, that's Danny Aldridge just coming down there, the technical director Roberta coming down to have a little chat with world champion Fabio Quartararo. You do wonder whether we will be able to get underway at 3:10 local time, because at the moment from our commentary in Qatar a couple of weeks ago, nil point. Bagnaia crashing out from a lowly battle for 9th place, and also unfortunately wiping out Ducati's Jorge Martin. Jack Miller, a major malfunction with his electronics. His bike just had no idea where it was around that Qatar circuit, and he had to retire. So the factory Ducati team looking to bounce back, and of course Ducati potentially on course for history today. They won the last 3 MotoGP races. Were they to make it 4 here today? Well, it would be the first time in their history. Of course, they joined the World Championship back in 2003. There's Rick Crichton, also from IRTA, just keeping Maverick Vinales up to date with the latest information.
So we look at the world champion then, Fabio Quartararo. Yeah, I'm not sure he's entirely keen on getting on his motorcycle and heading out on track in 8 minutes' time. Alex Rins was feeling a little bit unwell earlier in the weekend, although he's slightly happier 2 days on. He spoke to the media on Friday and seemed very, very unwell indeed, but yeah, much happier with life. Although Suzuki, from a motor racing point of view, putting to one side their riders' physical condition, had a disappointing weekend. It has to be said. They showed so much promise in Qatar, only for it to fall slightly flat on race day. Jack Miller giving us a wave. I don't think he'll be two-phased with these wet conditions. He's shown in the past just how good he can be in conditions slightly less wet than this, but certainly wet. But yeah, Suzuki just did not deliver in the race in the end. Simon Crafar spoke following the race earlier this weekend. He said he reckons that the extra fuel they perhaps had to carry was something to do with that, of course, with the extra power from the new GSX RR engine, which Juan Mir has had a very poor weekend, due to start this Grand Prix down in 17th position. But we can go down to the pit lane now. Of course, the big story of race day so far is the absence from this Indonesian Grand Prix this afternoon of Marc Marquez, a horrendous accident in warm-up. Let's get an update on the 8-time world champion from his team boss Alberto Puig with Simon.
Alberto, incredible big crash. Something like from our day on the two-strokes, you know. I would really like to hear from you for the first time. How is he? And how long do you expect him to be away? But while we have you, also the good work that Paul has been doing, like, towards this race.
Well, you know, it's been quite strange, because Mark had these 3 crashes, and we have to try to understand why. Because this crash from today was brutal. And frankly speaking, we need to analyze. You know, they brought here a different tire, and we have to understand everything. And at this moment it's difficult, because our rider crashed, and we want to understand. So I don't think I can give you any precise info at this moment. But finally, he got a massive crash, and we decided it was not correct under the circumstances after this concussion in the head to bring him to the track. So we all agreed, and that's why he will not race. Regarding Paul, now, you know, everything changed. We have been here always with good weather, and suddenly we have a thunderstorm, so it's like completely new paper. We start from zero, and I think the wet races are different, and you need a special ability for this. Some guys take more risk, but it's very important to see the real condition of the track, because if it's wet, it's one thing. If it's a river, it's unrideable. And then I think the guys that are checking the track must.
But he seems to be working well. Look, watching from the outside, you know, trying to get there, trying not to make mistakes. I would like to hear from your side how you think he's working.
Yeah, he's trying to do this, as you say. He's trying to stay cool and calm, even in the difficult times. And yeah, this is a target for this year. He knows he has the speed. He knows the bike is better than last year for him. So it's a matter of trying to stay cool when the situation is not easy. This weekend they brought a tire that is not fitting us. It was unexpected. So in the test he was super fast, and in the Grand Prix here he was not so fast. But he's trying to stay calm. But now with this story, it's another page.
Alberto, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Repsol Honda team manager Alberto Puig for coming to talk to us there after that horrible crash, which has sidelined Marc Marquez from this Grand Prix. There is further updates then on the bottom of your screens. I'm sure you saw that during Simon's chat with Alberto Puig. These current track conditions at the moment means we have a further delay. We were hoping to have the pit lane open at 14:55 p.m. local time for a 15-minute start procedure, hoping to get the race underway at around 15:10 local time, but that is currently not possible as the BMW safety car and yet more claps of thunder punish our eardrums in our headsets here. We've seen some lightning bolts off into the distance as well at the moment. John Mir, the 2021 MotoGP World Champ, he's looking pretty relaxed about it, isn't he?
Happiest he's looked all weekend, isn't it? As you can see the standing water. That's slightly off the racetrack. That's in between turns, the inside of turns 6 and 7.
See that through there, Lewis, that even the four wheels of the BMW safety car, it was hitting standing water and starting to aquaplane. So let's hope and pray that we get some kind of break in this torrential rain, which at the moment has forced the delayed start of our first Indonesian Grand Prix in 25 years. We've waited so long. The Indonesian fans have waited so long for this moment. And unfortunately, the weather not playing ball right now. Of course, we're in a tropical climate, tropical part of the world. We can have weather conditions like this, but to fall, just 40 minutes away from the scheduled start of the MotoGP race. I feel so sorry for the fans. They've come out in their droves. Yeah, that's what you need, isn't it? You need flippers and a snorkel for Mandalika right now.
Fabio Quartararo set to start this Grand Prix from pole position. We saw a shot moments ago of Marco Bezzecchi, who's due to start from 13th on the grid. What a good weekend he's been having, although his qualifying session perhaps didn't end as he'd intended, of course, with the crash in Q1, when he was certainly fancying his chances of getting into the top 12. I think he's impressed us all right throughout his short fledgling MotoGP career so far. He was generally the fastest rookie in pre-season testing. He was leading the rookie challenge by quite some margin in Qatar before crashing out of that Grand Prix. And then, of course, right throughout the weekend, he's looked pretty good. In FP4, of course, he was fastest for a lot of that session before being picked in the end by Franco Morbidelli in a crash in Q1, denied him the chance to compete in the top 12. But he's certainly a rider who's shown in the past that he's got a level of wet weather ability, and he's shown over the course of his MotoGP career, of course, just how much talent he's got.
Let's quickly pop down for some more reaction right now to the current state of play here in Mandalika. Sadly, we're not building up to 5 minutes away from the race start as we'd hoped to do at this stage. It's been a pretty difficult weekend for the factory Suzuki team with problems with rear grip for Juan Mir. Alex Rins climbing up his sickbed to get himself on that third row grid. Let's hear the thoughts of Suzuki.
And has a lot of experience, seen a lot of things. Livio, can you tell us what the team is through at the moment and how the weekend's been going until now?
Well, in reality, there's nothing more we can do than wait and see what happened. Clearly, the track at the moment is not in a condition you can race. We are waiting information from the Premierte. But really, of course, bikes are already set up for the wet, but there's nothing you can really do at the moment.
When you say bikes, you change both machines for both riders, or you change just one?
But then we will see.
Okay. And Livio, the weekend until now, I spoke to you in warm-up this morning, but it was a little short chat. Can you tell us, the listeners, how it's been going until now for Suzuki? And did you find the answer you were looking for in warm-up? I know you'd made some setup changes, especially to Juan Mir's machine.
Yeah, that's the new rear structure of the tire has an influence, especially on John riding style. I think at the end it's more a riding style than bikes. That's my feeling, personal feeling. This morning he improved the feeling. So sure, is an improvement comparing with Friday and Saturday. While Alex, the position on the grid is not perfect, but his feeling was never bad. This morning he changed the bike. He tested in the second exit. He tested with a medium tire. It didn't feel good. So now, anyway, we should have started with a softer if it were sunny. But also, I think both have potential to do better than expected. That's my feeling.
Okay, Livio, thank you for your time.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks to Simon, thanks to Livio Zupo. As you can see there at the bottom of your screen, the pit lane open, delayed due to weather conditions. We just popped into the Tech 3 KTM garage and saw Remy Gardner's logo that he carries around with him on his chest plate. He's a surf dude, isn't he, from Australia, Remy? And at the moment, that's probably what you need, a bit of surfing kit out here in Mandalika. Ralph Fernandez, been a tough start, a bit of a baptism of fire, I guess you could say, in MotoGP. It was always going to be. The level in MotoGP now, so competitive, so tough, not just in terms of closeness from the machinery, but the closeness in the talent of the riders as well. And tough start to finish last in the season opener in Qatar. When you think how awesome, how fantastic Raul Fernandez was in Moto2 last year, he said he's got to sort of recalibrate his brain to understand that it is going to take time. He has got to be patient, although patience is not a character virtue you normally associate with professional motorcycle racing, is it?
No, and the rookies specifically have got a bit of experience, not just this weekend, but generally in the wet conditions. We did have a bit of wet weather, as you can imagine, in the part of the world that they were testing at Sepang in the first pre-season test. We saw rain on the final afternoon of the 3-day test there, and the rookies, with the exception of Fabio Di Gianantonio, who was slightly unwell at that point, they all got some track time in the wet conditions. So they do have a level of experience in those conditions, which they'll be hoping to put to good use today. Well, what can we expect from the factory Aprilia team if we do get underway in these wet conditions? Of course, Aleix Espargaro, he starts pretty well up. He starts 10th. Marinales way down in 19th, but wet conditions could provide them with an opportunity. How does Massimo Rivola feel in this Grand Prix? Simon's with him.
Yeah, Massimo, I know you'll be focusing on the race today, right in front of you, but what I wanted to ask and let the listeners know your thoughts while we have this delay on. I've been watching, obviously, closely the last few years, and Aprilia is taking steps forward non-stop. Really impressive. And I've been saying on our shows that I believe now that the rest of them having been quite a few riders genuinely interested in riding your machine. I think it's got to the level now. It's proving to be competitive everywhere. I'd really like to get your thoughts on it.
Well, thanks for calling, Simon. It's nice to have this kind of feeling, and it's nice that you guys have this kind of feeling. I think that, if there are some riders interested, that's fine, but we have also very good two riders, and I hope to keep them for the few years, I hope so. By the way, every year we are doing a small step forward, we are getting closer and closer. Still is not enough. And once we reach the top, for sure it won't be enough, because everybody are pushing like hell every year and actually every race. So I'm confident we are working fine. We need to get Maverick getting the feeling, as actually today he was P2, but also the rhythm he had was quite good. Aleix was as well also very good and consistent. So to be honest, for today I was hoping for a long dry race. It doesn't look like it's going to be like that, but let's see. I mean, we are ready. I mean, we know that we are part of the game. We are in the game and we want to play.
I saw Maverick had two setups, one on each bike, and was it a setup change that helped him find the feeling he wanted?
Yeah, we did a setup change today to try to get a better feeling, and it worked. I think now Maverick is in a phase where we need to get this feeling before getting the best possible bike. First we need to get this feeling, and this morning it worked. So it's a bit of a pity that he cannot prove during the race that the changes were fine on a dry condition, but we'll see. At least we did a step for sure.
Last question is, have you used this latest machine in the wet before?
No, never. I don't think many of us did it, so, well, if we manage to race at some point today, I think it's going to be very interesting.
Massimo, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we should actually congratulate Aleix Espargaro on the subject of Aprilia. Aleix Espargaro, if you've been following him on social media earlier this week, he sent out a bit of a call to arms to the Indonesian fans to try and get him over the 1 million Instagram followers mark. He promised to give away his helmet, almost to the point to throw it into the crowd if he made it. He started the week 60,000 followers away, and we're delighted to say that with a day or two to spare, Aleix Espargaro succeeded. The Indonesian fans tipped him over the 1 million followers mark, so should we get underway and should this race take place and Aleix Espargaro reach the finish of it, those fans could be lifting their hands ready to catch Aleix Espargaro's crash helmet in an hour or two's time.
Yeah, good job by Aleix Espargaro. And finally, after all the delays, we did eventually get the pit lane rubber duck. It was bound to happen, and finally Suzuki, they didn't let us down, did they? Well, those beaches have been beautiful, sun-drenched and sun-kissed all week so far. Unfortunately, just at the biggest moment of the weekend. Right now, we'd be thinking, hoping we'd be calling the second or third lap in the first Indonesian Grand Prix for 25 years. But at the moment, all we can do is look skywards and hope that at some point the rain will abate and we're going to be able to get a shortened 20-lap race underway. The pit lane, as we said, it has been delayed due to the weather conditions. The opening of pit lane, it was due to be open at 14:55. That was about 7 minutes ago, with an ideal delayed race start of 3:10 local time. As you can see, that will not be currently happening. As soon as we have any further information about a potential race start, of course, you'll be the first ones to know. Fair play to the fans as well. They're sticking it out. They're persevering. I guess you could say in this part of the world they're used to this kind of torrential rain. I think I'm sure I was told by the locals we're kind of at the back end of the rainy season, so we've been pretty unfortunate to have been stuck with this weather. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's keep everything crossed so that these fans who've waited such a long time to see the best in the world in MotoGP race here in Indonesia, that they get to see some track action. As we mentioned in the warm-up session, what a day it was 2 weeks ago. What a night it was for the Gresini Ducati team. This man taking an emotional first win since the tragic loss of the team boss Fausto Gresini, the team's first win in 16 years. A happy birthday to the team owner, the widow of Fausto Gresini, Nadia Padovani. Happy birthday to you.
Jorge Martin, starting from the front row of the grid. He starts in second place. It's the first time he started from the front row where he's not been on pole position, of course. He's talking us through his strategy, I think, for the race. Putting in a few lengths of the swimming pool that we call the start-finish straight just outside our window ahead of us. Franco Morbidelli, of course, who you saw while we were hearing from Simon a few moments ago, has that 3-place grid penalty for a practice start infraction. I'd say that's about 6 lengths of a swimming pool at the moment that Franco Morbidelli has to try and make up on the grid. He's dropped from 12th on the grid to 15th. Of course, the absence of Marc Marquez has now promoted him back up to 14th.
Yeah, Marc Marquez, after a disastrous 2 days here in Mandalika, 3 crashes at turns 10, 11 and 12 throughout the course of the weekend. He actually was praying for rain yesterday, so he didn't mind a wet race. Well, he's got his wish, but unfortunately, Marc Marquez, if you are just joining us for the first time, of course, we were hoping to be underway here in Indonesia. Sadly, this torrential rain has delayed the start. And if you're hoping to tune in right now to see MotoGP action involving Marc Marquez, well, sadly, we haven't got either. Because Marc Marquez have ruled out getting a concussion in that high-speed, high-side at turn 7 in this morning's warm-up session. There's Brad Binder's crew looking on. Checkman, Daniel Patak, Johnny Eyre, Mark Lloyd, not just popping the pad for so many people. They were very, very confident.
Well, last time we saw weather conditions something resembling this, Brad Binder was on slicks, of course, when he was winning the Austrian Grand Prix.
Binder sat down in the garage now, just telling his Michelin technician, yeah, don't bother with the wets, mate, I'll just go out on slicks, no problem.
Yeah, he walked on water to win that Grand Prix back in the summer of last year, of course. An extraordinary end to that race, of course, with rain in the closing stages. Brad Binder on a tightrope, stuck it out on slicks. Well, as mentioned a moment ago, Jorge Martin set to start from the front row of the grid today. He's lining up second on the grid. Let's get some pre-race thoughts from him with Simon.
Jorge, thanks for coming out of the garage and talking to us. You've looked great at the first 2 opening races, you know, really competitive at both. Looking really good here. I heard you say that you felt good in the dry coming into this race. Tell us about how your weekend's gone until now.
Yeah, sure. From the first moment out on the track, for sure when there were some mixed conditions, I was struggling a little bit to keep the confidence, but when it was full dry, I was really competitive. Our main issue was to find the perfect rear tire. It was the main problem for today, but afterwards when they reduced the race 20 laps, we were going to put the soft. But in the first case, we were going to put the medium. So I was confident and focused on the last, 7-8 laps. But finally, yeah, raining, we need to wait. The problem is that we didn't try. But I mean, I hear that there's a lot of grip here. In wet conditions, I feel great with my Ducati. And I'm expecting, yeah, let's see if we can race. And if we can race for sure, I think we can be up in the front.
Jorge, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Jorge Martin. Always good of him to come and have a chat. Of course, these riders will be feeling the tension. Always difficult scenario when you're not quite sure when you're going to get the call to arms and have to go out and race in these, at the moment, treacherous conditions. We can see the safety car. Wow, there's just a massive bolt of lightning light up the grey and gloomy sky outside of our commentary box. You can probably hear as well, we can through our headsets, yet more big claps of thunder. I feel so sorry for the organisers here in Mandalika, of course. There's been so much work behind the scenes, not just over the last few months or so, over many years, to bring MotoGP back to this part of the world. Friday night and Saturday night, I was looking at the rehearsals for the new grid ceremony, which we saw for the first time in MotoGP in Qatar, where we get to see the Tower of the Champions Tower Trophy, the race-winning prize here in Mandalika. Of course, the president himself is present here today, was going to be part of that special new grid ceremony. Unfortunately, these torrential rain conditions have curtailed all that. Such a shame for so many people. Lewis, of course, you've got to understand and get a taste of just how popular MotoGP is in this part of the world. You attended that amazing pre-event where the riders did a parade in downtown Jakarta. It was like Beatlemania. It was like the Rolling Stones were in town. These guys are treated like rock stars. Whoa! Well, we said that there was some claps of thunder and bolts of lightning. What a get that is by our camera crews out on circuit. You should give actually a special mention to our camera operators as well, because
rather
they're
you
out
than
there.
me, guys.
Absolutely, what a shot that was. That just gives you an idea of just how troublesome the weather is proving here. But yeah, coming back to the pre-event, Lewis, you were pleasured enough to be there and witness firsthand just how massively popular MotoGP here is in this part of the world. It really was like Beatlemania. Look at that, off in the distance. We are getting the thunderstorms that were forecast.
Yes, it's a spectacular sight, or not the spectacular sight that I think anyone
Commentary box now is actually shaking because this thunder is so fierce.
Yeah, I was about to say, the parade that we saw on Wednesday was like nothing I've ever experienced. Neither was that. The feeling under our shoes in this commentary box, which was shaking with this electrical storm. Yeah, it was a tremendous day on Wednesday. It has to be said here in Indonesia and have some breakfast with him before they... I spoke about this earlier on the weekend up to it, with the fans lining the side of the road with the ability to give high fives and fist bumps to the riders. They put on a great show as well for the giving them some real entertainment, and you just got the impression that this was amongst the best experience of some of these people's lives. They really do live and breathe MotoGP in this part of the world. Perhaps only football rivals MotoGP and motorcycle racing as a whole for popularity in this part of the world. They really do get behind it, and it's fitting that MotoGP does race in this part of the world. And yeah, Apollo Spargaro spoke, as you mentioned a moment ago, that they felt like rock stars coming through the city centre, and were then essentially mobbed when they got to the nearby Kempinski Hotel where the parade came to a close. It was a memorable start to this week in Indonesia. The welcome we've had from the locals and from the organisers has been absolutely top-notch. As you say, they've put in an enormous amount of work to really bring this circuit up to standard, right the way from the pre-season test. Even in the last month, they've really done a lot of hard work on the infrastructure around here, the roads around the circuit, the grandstands. Even a month ago, this circuit was unrecognisable to what we have now. They really have done a tremendous job as well with the track surface. It's perhaps not the ultimate solution that we want, but it is certainly a step in the right direction.
So Alicia Spargaro and Alex Rins, all they can do is play the waiting game and hope for a break in this weather. As we said, those thunderclaps are getting so ferocious. Our commentary box was literally shaking. That's no exaggeration. I'm actually relieved that our dear colleague Amy Reynolds is actually not here. She's pretty fond of the old Thunder. I hope you're well back in the UK, Amy. Of course, we're looking forward to hooking up with you again when the European season kicks off in Portimao. Love to Sam and Freddie. You will be relieved, I'm sure, watching from home that you are back home in the UK and not experienced this torrential thunderstorms. To continue to give the latest updates then to the paddock and the pit lane. Fabio Quartararo still just trying to keep himself cool, keep himself relaxed. Will he hopefully get to start from his first pole position since the Catalonia battle in Barcelona last June? Now that here we go then. The pit lane is not going to open until 15:45 local time at the earliest. So the next update we are going to get will be in 25 minutes. So obviously, as you'd expect, the race organisers, the Mandalika organisation, in cooperation with the FIM, with Dorna and IRTA, they are giving ourselves the best possible chance of having this Grand Prix of Indonesia to take place. But the pit lane will not open then now before 15:45 local time. There's going to be constant monitoring, of course, of the weather forecast. We've got the most sophisticated weather prediction systems in place. Let's pop back down to pit lane and talk to Simon Crayfire, the first rookie into Q2 this year. A truly brilliant performance in Q1 yesterday. Fabio Antonio only beaten by Pecco Bagnaia. When you looked at the list of names that were behind it, did you? It was a truly astonishing performance to get himself through into Q2. He was due to start the race from 11th place. Let's hear from the Grazini man down in pit lane with Simon.
Fabio, your effort yesterday in qualifying made us all smile. It was pretty impressive considering the amount of time you've had on a MotoGP bike. I'd like to ask you, well, I'd like to hear what that was like, you know, putting that lap together, and what it's like sitting here about to go out in a wet race soon, and you've never ridden in full wet. So tell us about those things.
Well, I was so happy about yesterday because from Qatar we did a great step on the setup of the bike, and I was really confident, especially on the front, so I could push really hard on especially in the qualifying for time attack. Honestly, in Q2 I was not, let's say, 100% because I did FP3, FP4, Q1 also in Q2, so I was a bit tired, honestly. For this also I couldn't reply the 31.6 of the Q1, but yeah, it was a great lap, honestly. I was super happy about that. And yeah, I'm here waiting. Honestly, it's a pity that at the moment we cannot race because the conditions are what they are. But I'm just waiting. For sure, before a race, you are always so focused and try to be in the zone. But now everything is a bit lost, you know, because we are just waiting. We don't know what to do. Maybe we go out, maybe we go in, maybe we cannot go. It's a pity. And also, I would like to race in a normal condition with wet, but normal condition, because I would like to try the MotoGP bike on rain. But at the moment seems a bit too much, let's say.
Fabio, I imagine the team and Ducati have so much experience in the wet, they just put a setting that they tell you will work. Do you have any input on how you want this setting, or you just trust them and go ride it?
Well, for sure we start from our base setup of the dry, and we do all the modifyings for the wet. But honestly, I don't have any feedbacks. Also, then say to me, go out and enjoy, because we don't know anything. So also for me, it will be my first time, and yeah, I'm waiting.
Fabio, thank you for your time. Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Scenes you didn't expect to see at 3:15 on race day Sunday at the Indonesian Grand Prix. The tyre pit lane is this lady an audience here.
Well, to be honest, let's hope this works. Apparently this is a local rain ritual.
Desperate times and all
Banish
that.
away these clouds. Let's hope this lady's efforts pay off, because we all want to see a MotoGP race take place here in Indonesia.
Well, if the wind stops, we do get a race, she should get the 25 points, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. She got a special award at the end of the season from the FIM and from Dorna. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we are going to get the race that we've all come here for, the first Grand Prix of Indonesia in 25 years. There you can see there at the bottom of your screens, pit lane will not open before 15:45 local time.
The bigger issue we may have, in addition to the obvious issue, which is the quantity of rain that's falling, is the sunlight. It's due to get dark here around about 6:30, just before 6:30 local time. So we've got around 3 hours to play with before it starts to get dark here, and you just wouldn't be able to race even if it was bone dry. So we are going to get to the stage at some point where that does become a deciding factor. But of course, at the moment, still no reason to panic necessarily too yet. We've still got plenty of time for conditions to hopefully improve. And of course, with Moto 3 and Moto 2 having already raced earlier today, this is rather different to perhaps the scenario that might be coming to people's heads of Silverstone in 2018. We have only one more race to go. Marc Marquez was hoping to start it. Speaking to our colleagues at the Zone with Spanish TV, he's been speaking that he feels good, a little bit stunned, but he is okay. We, of course, we saw Marc Marquez on his feet and, of course, heading to the hospital by the air ambulance, but under his own steam, on his own 2 feet. And we, of course, hope to see Marc Marquez back in action in 2 weeks' time when we return to Termas Rio Hondo for the Argentinian Grand Prix, another circuit, much like the race that follows that, the Circuit of the Americas, for the Grand Prix of the Americas, 2 circuits that Marc Marquez has had great success at in the past.
Yeah, good to hear. Mark did make his way back to the paddock, and he was able to talk to Spanish TV, as Lewis said. He was stunned. We've all been stunned by his crash-strewn weekend in here. That bruising crash in the warm-up session this morning at turn 7, when he was violently flicked a good 15 feet in the air. I mean, it was one of the worst crashes I've ever seen. I've been around this MotoGP paddock since 1996. The good news, of course, was that Mark was relatively okay. He was concussed. The bad news rolled out of this Indonesian Grand Prix, which at the moment, unfortunately, has not yet got going. We are waiting patiently, as is the entire pit lane, hoping and praying that we will get the race action underway as soon as we possibly can. There's Razlan Razli, of course, from the With You RNF team. We just saw there Darren Binder looking as relaxed and as cool and calm as ever. Nothing will faze for the South African at all. Lynn Jarvis there looking on as well. Will Fabio Quartararo get the chance to start from that pole position? The 1:31.067 that he set just over 24 hours ago now, as yet another big bolt of lightning illuminates the sky out of our commentary box position here. And then again, there's another big clap of thunder. Unfortunately, the forecasts were absolutely spot on. When we walked into the media centre this morning around 7:30 a.m. local time, the first journalist that came up to me went, "Hey Matt, you do realise that there's going to be thunderstorms at about 3 o'clock this afternoon?" And I was trying to be as optimistic as I possibly could and said, "Hey, yeah, but we know how quickly the weather can change in this part of the world." Sadly, for once, that forecast was absolutely bang on the money. Let's pop back down to pit lane again and talk to Simon Craig. I'm delighted to say he's grabbed the quick word with Aussie Jack Miller. Down to you, Simon.
Jack, you're famous for being able to adapt quickly to changing conditions. Can you give us a bit of a run through how the weekend felt until now and what you're hoping for?
Yeah, the weekends felt all right. I mean, starting 9th on the grid definitely wasn't what I was after yesterday in qualifying, but that's where we are. And no, I mean, a lot of things have changed today. You know, we planned on the 27-lap race, but then they got knocked back, and then the rains come in, so that sort of changed our approach again. So, I mean, 27-lap race was going to be a big old survival race, I think, trying to manage the tyres and whatnot. 20 laps sort of brought it back into safe range, let's say, where you could be able to push a bit more. Now having wet, you know, this should stop pretty soon, and when it does stop, I'm assuming it's going to pull up pretty quickly. And yeah, the track won't dry completely, but I think some areas will become dry towards the end of the race. But no, fingers crossed it just stops now and we can get back underway.
Jack, thanks for your time. Good luck.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Jack Miller, echoing the sentiments of all of us here in Indonesia. We do hope that we can get underway. If you are just tuning in, we have a delayed start. Fabio Quartararo is not obviously expecting any action soon. He's got back in his team clothing. Oh, dearie me. Terrible mistake. Was that his ice cream? Oh, dear. That's the first mistake Fabio Quartararo has made all weekend so far. That's a little bit of a red-face moment for our pole man and our reigning world champion. Now, this lady is doing some sterling work now. She's been out on the grid. She is trying to banish away this rain. I sincerely hope it does work, as Fabio Quartararo makes his first mistake of the weekend, dropping his ice cream tub. Let's hope it's the only mistake he makes of the weekend as
well.
Nothing that the riders and the teams can do, of course. All they can do is wait patiently and hope that we do get a break in this torrential rain. Pre-race, it was looking very, very good for Ducati. They had 2 bikes in the front row, 4 bikes that qualified in the top 6, including round 1 winner, Anaya Bastianini. We've already heard the thoughts of the Castelnuovo rider, Jack Miller. Let's pop back down to Simon, who's got sporting director Paolo Ciabatti with him. Down to you guys.
Yeah, I was just saying to Paolo, we've been talking a lot about conditions and that already. What I would love to hear from Paolo's point of view is your 8 very impressive Ducati riders, you know, some rookies, some very, very experienced. I'd love to hear your thoughts on each of them if you have time.
Yeah, sure. I think we have plenty of time. Let's hope the rain stops pretty soon and we can have a race today. Because so many spectators and the president of Indonesia is here, so we must have a race, I think. What can I say? I think we were impressed positively by all the riders, obviously, starting from Enea. You know, he did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, if we talk about Pecco and Jack, obviously, Pecco had that crash. You know that we were trying a few things during the weekend, so probably our riders lost a bit of confidence, so they couldn't really. We saw that 7 riders in the top 12, and the 13 we go back to Bezzecchi and Marini. I think they showed here that they can do very good, especially Marco is impressive here. I think Luca was very good during the test. Also for him, being on a 22 bike, he lost a little bit of confidence in Qatar, but he's gaining it back here. And as for Gian Antonio, wow, Q2. So Fabio is also a rookie, which is doing very good. And obviously the Martin Zarco, we don't need to say much because they have been so strong all over last year and they continue to be very, very strong here, starting from the first row. So I think we will have a wet race. I think it's probably in a way better for us because condition I think will help us a little bit more. And then we see obviously rainy condition always a kind of risk and gamble. But all our riders are very comfortable in these conditions, so looking forward to the race.
Paolo, through testing, winter testing, it looked like you had found a faster engine, and Ducati never stopped developing. We see that. It looked also that the riders lost a bit of confidence, as you said. I can imagine soon that bike will be better than the 21 bike, but have you found the direction now, do you believe?
Yes, as you know, there are 3 different options of Ducati engines available this year. There is a 21 version, which is what the Gresini riders and Matt Bezzecchi have. Then there is what we call hybrid version of 2022 with some features of a 21, and this is for the 2 factory riders. As spectators may know, the factory riders, you can choose one engine for both riders. Team, you can use also different specs for different riders, but Jack and Pecco have this hybrid version, and then we have the 2 Pramac riders and Marini on the 22. I think the 22 showed here that is as good as. Hopefully there is some room for improvement, but I think the main problem was because we were trying a system that was probably not yet mature, as you can say, to be used in the race. So once the riders, we decided to go back to something more standard. In Qatar, riders had lost a little bit of confidence. So I think here we went back to a more normal setup, and the results prove that this is the right direction. So we have time during the season to bring into the race something new.
Paolo, last question for you. In the future, I'm thinking if that engine is faster, the 22 engine, and we get to somewhere like Austria and you've had time to develop it, do you expect to start to shine there?
As you know, once you make the choice, it's made for the whole season, no? So we have to stay with the selection which has been made. And obviously, we think, honestly, to be totally transparent, it's so difficult to improve an engine like the engine we were using last year, because it already reached a very high level of performances. So obviously engineers always try to do a little bit better, but sometimes the difference is really small. So it goes back to the feeling of the rider on that engine more than on the actual performance.
Paolo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks to Ducati Lenovo team manager Paolo Ciabatti with Simon Crayford. We just saw there is the president of Indonesia. That's how big this event is for the nation of Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo, present. Hopefully to see some Premier Class race action here. The local announcers are doing their best to keep the fans entertained. We've just heard them there, I think, just singing the national anthem. Of course, this was a man who rode with 20 riders on that special parade in Jakarta, which Lewis attended. Gave us a real insight and a real flavour into just how popular MotoGP is in this part of the world. It's great to have Mr. Widodo here present for what we hope is going to be a landmark and milestone day for Indonesian motorsport. A landmark day, of course, for MotoGP as well. We talk about how Spain is kind of the European heartbeat of the championship. I think very much the rest of the world heartbeat for MotoGP is very much in this Southeast Asian nation. They love their motorcycle racing. Marc Marquez flags waving. Unfortunately, when we do get underway here in Lombok, we will not see Marquez in action. I've got to say, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping up their spirits, Lewis, here, because we've had a pretty lengthy delay. We should have been underway in MotoGP nearly half an hour ago now, but the crowd are still enjoying their day out.
Yeah, I guess they'll say if we've had to wait 25 years for Grand Prix motorcycle racing in the Premier Class to return to this country, what's another couple of hours? Pol Espargaro starting. Well, when we got on the plane to fly out here to Indonesia, we certainly didn't like Pol Espargaro to be lining up 16th on the grid for this Grand Prix. Of course, the changes to the tyres, Michelin bringing this stiffer construction of tyre, the different casing to deal with the heat that we were expecting here in dry conditions, has certainly caught Repsol Honda out. Pol Espargaro was fastest on 2 of the 3 days at the pre-season test here back in February. Really, really competitive in just about every condition on all days. But Espargaro, once we arrived here in Indonesia, hasn't been able to enjoy the same kind of feeling at this Grand Prix. It was rather critical of Michelin. Of course, Michelin having to make a decision based on the 3 days of data that they had at the test. They decided that they had to bring this different casing of the rear tyre. They were fearful of the heat and of blisters, causing them some real problems. We had track temperatures mid-60s centigrade on Thursday here at the Pertamina Mandalika circuit. So you can understand why Michelin were a little bit concerned and a little bit cautious. But Pol Espargaro was saying that their bike simply wasn't made for tyres like the ones that we have here that haven't been run since Buriram in 2018, and it's simply called Repsol Honda out.
Yeah, just a little update from some of our Indonesian colleagues who've been messaging a media WhatsApp group that the MotoGP media keep involved in. And apparently that lady who we saw on the grid was what they call in this part of the world a rain handler. It's a term for people in Indonesian society who are believed to be able to control the rain or the weather. Generally, rain handlers control the weather by moving clouds. They service they usually use for big events such as weddings, musics and concerts. Well, let's hope the rain handlers manage to handle this weather. That's a great embrace between two men who've done so much together to bring this sport that we love to a country that loves our sport, MotoGP. Dorna CEO, of course, Carmelo Espeleta, embracing and having a conversation here with Mr. Joko Widodo, the President of the Republic of Indonesia. These two men, of course, have worked tirelessly behind the scenes for weeks, months and years to bring MotoGP back to Indonesia. There were 2 Indonesian Grand Prix at the Central Circuit near Jakarta back in 1996 and 1997. Popularity of MotoGP in Southeast Asia has ballooned and rocketed over the last 20 years or so. I remember going to Malaysia and Sepang when Sepang was first built back in 1999. They struggled to get 10,000 fans through the gate. Now you can get 150,000 fans coming to Sepang. It's always great to have international races, to bring the sport to new audiences, to bring the sport to where they love MotoGP. Of course, we race in Thailand, we race in Malaysia, we race in Japan, in this part of the world, and we're hoping that we get to race in Indonesia in 2022 as well. Stick with us, be patient.
It's been one of the regrets, hasn't it, amongst many of the last 2 or 3 years, of course, with COVID-19. Of course, our hearts go out to everyone who's been affected over the course of this pandemic, but of course it's prevented MotoGP to coming to places like Sepang, and of course we're waiting later in the year to go to Mategi and to Buriram as well, as you mentioned, and Phillip Island. Very, very popular venues with very, very passionate support, where we're hoping to be able to return to later in the year.
Has Fabio Quartararo stolen your flip-flops there?
The right size feet.
He does like the old rascal clubber.
Yeah, although I think given the size of my feet, my shoes more resemble canoes, which would be quite useful actually in conditions such as these. I think I'd be well set.
Get your flippers and your snorkel out, I think that's what you need.
Well, here's an on-board lap with a difference then of the Portimao Mandalika circuit. You're inside the safety car, heading into turn 1. You can see on screen the standing water still on the circuit. Difficult to really tell from this camera angle whether the conditions are easing or not. Just popped out of the commentary box around 10 minutes ago and the rain was still falling very heavily indeed. Of course, they're trying to clear some of the water, do whatever they can, of course, so that once conditions, if they do improve to the stage where we can go racing, the track conditions don't take too long to sweep up and clear some of that standing water away. So they're really working round the clock here to keep the track in as good a condition as possible. So once we do get notice that a race start could be possible, that quick restart procedure, that 15-minute start procedure, can be commenced.
Yeah, I'm trying to remain optimistic, Lewis, as we always do in the commentary box here in MotoGP, but all those hills that we can see off in the distance around this magnificent Mandalika circuit, at the moment you can't see them, as such is the heavy cloud cover. The local authorities and the local organisation, as we said, they're doing their best to keep the fans entertained in the grandstands. This is Franco Uncini and Loris Capirossi.
We've spoken about the passionate support that they have for MotoGP in this part of the world. They also take it as a great source of pride as well for MotoGP to be visiting this part of the world. The welcome from the locals here has been embraced. Rival of MotoGP in this part of the world. You can see the excitement on your screens there. They really do live for this stuff.
Yeah, I never thought I'd come to a MotoGP race in Indonesia on a stunning island like Lombok and go out for dinner the first night like we did as a big group, Lewis, to a Mexican restaurant where I was being talked in a Cockney slang by one of the waiters. His Cockney was... mind, to be honest. Top man, as you say, we've had such a fantastic reception here in Indonesia. A long, long wait that we've had to. Endured before the World Championship 8 years ago. That's such a long time ago. That was my second season in the paddock, 1997. Well, I was a whippersnapper back then. 24 years of age. I'm an old man now.
So I wonder what the debrief will be then as they return to the pit lane. Of course, we're expecting perhaps the next update very, very shortly.
Well, it's a bad sign, isn't it? You can just see the pace of those windscreen wipers on the BMW safety car. That gives you an indication of just how strong the rainfall is still falling. Franco Ancini and Loris Capirossi, they've done a fair few laps out there already, haven't they? So there's a further update then that's just filtering through from which direction. Initially, the pit lane wasn't going to be open before 15:45. The pit lane will not open before 4 p.m. local time now. So that's about another 24, 23 minutes away. As we say, we'll keep our fingers crossed that by that stage of proceedings, there will have been some break in this weather. We will finally be able to hear those 300 horsepower MotoGP bikes fire up, power around what will be a wet mandalika circuit. But let's hope that these fans get what they come to see. This man fighting hard to retain his MotoGP World Championship rank.
I think Quartararo's changing to his civvies, so he's not expecting a restart anytime soon. Of course, he's got half an hour to play with as the Indonesian fans start to show us some of the moves, whether that's a dance move or whether he's simulating twisting the throttle of a motorcycle. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, some quality dad dancing to fill your time, and it's certainly entertaining. Fabio Quartararo, I'm not sure whether he's going to engage in a dance off with this guy. He is a little bit. He's showing some of his own moves.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Fabio loving it. We're certainly loving it. That's going to be the tension and ease the stress that will inevitably going around. Yeah, you're famous. You've had your... moment like here in Mandalika. He's got some moves, that guy, hasn't he? Enthusiasm of that
He's
man
laying
there
down the gauntlet,
in
isn't
the
he?
blue t-shirt. This is dance off, please, between that man in the crowd
Come on,
and Fabio Quartararo. Come on, let's have a... in Mandalika. How come it's taken us so long to find this guy? Absolutely brilliant, loving it. We've loved... live in long. But yeah, come on, let's keep going. Superb. Fabio Quartararo, he absolutely loved it. Come on, Fabio, we need to see your moves. We know you've got great moves out on circuit. Let's see some off-track swagger. Come on, we know you've got it. We know you've got those moves in you. Not going to do it, is he?
Maybe we'll see them on the podium later on if he ends up there.
Yeah, actually, maybe he's a little bit too frightened of being shown up by the guy in the crowd. Some refreshments being taken on board by our round one winner, Anea Bastianini. There is the story, unfortunately, of the afternoon here